It's Thursday, May 5. In the headlines, Finance Ministry's Co-Pay JPS program starts this month. Regionally, no diplomatic immunity for BVI Premier. And in sports, Reggae Girls Under 17 team coming home after failing to qualify for upcoming World Cup. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I am Simone Absalom Gale. Some JPS customers will get some help with the bills starting this month. This as the Jamaica Public Service Company, JPS, and the Finance Ministry signed a Memorandum of Understanding on Wednesday afternoon, officially implementing the government's plan to pay a portion of the electricity costs for some Jamaicans. Financial Secretary Darlene Morrison gave an update to the members of the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, the PAAC.
There is an allocation of $2 billion to assist JPS customers. This is through the announced WeCare Energy Co-Pay program, which will contribute 20% of the JPS bill for postpaid residential customers, and also a specified sum for the prepaid customers.
Ms. Morrison says her ministry is awaiting information from the utility company to commence payments. The European Union is strengthening its relationship with Jamaica and will be focusing on three main areas: politics, trade and investments, and continued cooperation, stressing that the relationship between the EU and Jamaica has now changed from donor and recipient.
Politics, why is it important to have a political relationship with you? For multilateralism, defending all the common challenges in the world, everything I've mentioned before, but so also to get to know each other better. Like if I believe in something, I would very much you to believe in that as well. Maybe you don't, we respect. But we talk to each other. It's extremely important, like diplomats, that you talk and that you know each other. Secondly, trade and investment. I do not have the figures here with me, but you do know that since 2008 we have the Economic Partnership Agreement, which establishes free trade between the European Union and Jamaica. Investment, very important. I mean, you have seen how the tourist sector, that there is one particular country of the EU very present. You may have noticed that another EU country is present in the, how do you say that, gas stations. We have buses from one another country. I mean, these kind of things are important because it brings us closer together. And it's not just the European Union investing here. I know about quite some important investments of Jamaican companies in the European Union. I think that's really, really important.
The EU ambassador to Jamaica shared some of the areas where the EU has invested some 66 million euros during its 7-year cycle of 2014 to 2020.
We have used that amount of funds to support the country, in particular in the areas of justice, in the area of environment, forestry, mangroves. I'm just listening to you. And PFM is a bit more difficult to explain. It's public finance management, transparency. And of course, in citizen security, which is one of the biggest challenges of this country.
For the upcoming cycle, the EU has agreed to further invest 30 million euros up until 2024 and will top up once the monies have been well spent. Ambassador Steen listed the areas of interest.
The areas on which we've decided to focus on are: 1, digital. It has a nicer title with sustainable economies, etc., but actually we would like to help the country to, get into this digital, century in which we live. And it is a priority of the government, so we would like to help them. Secondly, we, of course, have to go green. I mean, green, climate change, help. In particular, we're looking, we haven't yet 100% decided what we're going to do, but we're looking mainly at the urban for vulnerability to climate change, to resilience. We're very, very closely looking at downtown Kingston, but again, all of that is just discussions ongoing with the government. And then thirdly, we will continue to work on citizen security, good governance. I mean, I'm not putting that as number one, it's because we just started with that last year. So it's going to be a continuation of what we're doing, or maybe a change if it's not working out in the way we want.
This information was shared during a media editors' breakfast meeting held at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel, where she introduced herself and her team to answer questions from the media. Dispute resolution and prevention. That's the main focus of the new Memorandum of Understanding between the Ministry of Education and Youth and the Ministry of Justice. The two ministries are partnering to bring restorative justice practices into the school system. Speaking at the signing of the MOU, Minister of Justice Delroy Chuck said the restorative justice system has been used largely by the courts with positive outcomes, and it will bear enormous fruits in schools. For her part, Minister of Education and Youth Favour Williams says the partnership will enhance the dispute resolution practices already established in schools. She says the ministry will continue to provide and promote best practices in conflict resolution, thereby enhancing community cohesion. The move is in response to the recent spate of violent conflicts among students. Restorative justice is a procedure that brings all the parties with a stake in the particular offence to resolve the conflict and deal with the aftermath of the offence. It seeks to repair the harm caused by the offence, help reintegrate the offender into the community, and aims to achieve a sense of healing for both the victim and the community. More use of technology in the justice system will be the way forward, so says Justice Minister Delroy Chuck. He pointed out that the pandemic presented an opportunity for the courts to adjust operations to meet the demands of the public.
This saw the introduction of electronic filing at the Court of Appeal and Supreme Court, which meant, Madam Speaker, that attorneys and litigants could file documents with the respective registries, even with extended lockdowns and periods when the courts could only offer reduced services. The Judicial Case Management System, JCMS, which is currently in pilot in selected courts, has assisted in this effort as documents filed electronically were uploaded to the JCMS to allow for ease of access to the records and facilitate the progression of the cases in a timely manner.
Minister Chuck says the shift to virtual hearings has proved a positive move with attorneys who underscored the ease and cost savings from making their presentations from their homes or offices. Minister Chuck says further expansion of equipment in courtrooms will be done this year.
Equipment to facilitate virtual hearings is available in most courtrooms at the Supreme Court, and the technology is now being replicated in other courtrooms across the island. I expect, Madam Speaker, by the end of this fiscal year, each parish court should be able to conduct virtual hearings. In addition to this, Madam Speaker, we expect that the backlog in cases should be significantly reduced, even though we recognize that there's a constraint in terms of transcript being available. And we are working assiduously on that, Madam Speaker, and that the issue of transcript will shortly be dealt with effectively so that in the Court of Appeal, within the next few months, the transcript will become available.
He gave an update on the length of time for judgment to be delivered. They
had judgments delivered for 268 cases over the period April 2021 to March 2022. 268 judgments, cases. The judgment delivery rate, Madam Speaker, was 172%. Since 2018, there have been 163 judgments delivered for every 100 judgments reserved, producing a judgments clearance rate of 163%. What I can say, Madam Speaker, is that we have been able not only to outfit the Court of Appeal fully, but because they now have offices, all 12 plus the President, we are now able to appoint all 13 judges.
He noted non-trial matters such as probate, chambers matters, including hearings before the master in chambers and divorces, has seen a significant reduction in the time to process and complete. Minister Chuck says some lawyers are also the reason why some divorces take so long to complete.
So, Madam Speaker, in divorce cases, the average time to have a divorce done has been reduced significantly to 20 months. So, Madam Speaker, many divorces during the past year have been completed within 16 weeks. Many divorces. But the average time, because some extend, have been is 20 months. Now this, Madam Speaker, is a significant reduction to the 3 years and more in the past. But the reason, Madam Speaker, and lawyers should be aware of this, why it continues beyond the 6 weeks, which is possible, is that there's so many requisitions. The attorneys, especially the younger ones, have not properly provided the material necessary to complete the probate and the divorces. So you find, Madam Speaker, that a lot of requisitions take place. So if the divorce or the probate document is properly completed, it can be dealt with within 3 months.
Gas prices are up. We get the figures and other regular market updates from Denita Rodney in this business report.
At the pumps today, a $4.50 increase on all gas and diesel prices. 87 and 90 octane gasoline up by $4.50 will be sold for $198.14 and $203.15 per liter respectively. Automotive diesel fuel will be sold for $211.70 per liter. Continuing with the $4.50 increase, ultra-low sulfur diesel will be sold for $214.43 per liter, and kerosene will be sold for $184.55 per liter. Meanwhile, propane liquid petroleum down by 25 cents will be sold for $79.75 per liter, and butane liquid petroleum will be sold for $91.17 per liter after an increase of 25 cents. It is important to remember to be on the lookout for price changes, as marketing companies and retailers will add their own markups to these prices. Now for your market updates. In foreign exchange trading for Wednesday, May 4, the US dollar sold for an average of $155.69. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $122.07. The pound sterling traded for $195.79, and the euro sold for an average of $167.75. The following reflects the movement of the JSE indices in Wednesday's trading session. The JSE index advanced by 1,632 points to close at over 400,000 units. The junior market index advanced by 9 points to close at over 4,000 units. The combined market index advanced by over 1,616 points to close at over 400,000 units. And the All Jamaican Composite Index advanced by 2,293 points to close at over 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 110 stocks, of which 47 advanced, 51 declined, and 12 traded firm. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, Blue Power Group Limited, and CAC 2000 9.5% cumulative redeemable preference shares. Stocks declined for 1834 Investments Limited, Access Financial Services Limited, and Berger Paints Jamaica Limited. Trading firm were AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, Barita Investments Limited, and Community and Workers of Jamaica CCU Deferred Share. The following companies represents the overall volume leaders: Productive Business Solutions Limited 9.75% cumulative redeemable, Future Energy Source Company Limited ordinary shares, and Trans Jamaican Highway Limited with over 2 million units. In regional stocks in Trinidad and Tobago, Clico Investment Fund was the volume leader with over 68,000 shares, followed by Calypso Macro Index Fund with 200 shares being traded. On the Barbados Stock Exchange, Government of Barbados Bond Series B was the volume leader with over 100,000 shares, followed by Goddard Enterprises Limited, which traded over 7,000 shares. In market data for oil prices rose this morning on supply concerns after the European Union laid out plans for new sanctions against Russia. Brent crude was up 36 cents or 0.3% at $110.50 a barrel, and West Texas Intermediate crude rose 4 cents or less than 0.1% to $107.85 a barrel. And that was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Denida Rodney.
In regional news, the Bahamas Department of Inland Revenue has announced that the country is in arrears after reports show that businesses have been collecting value-added tax but are failing to pay the government. Bethany McDermott reports.
In total, taxpayers have failed to file or to pay close to $1 billion. We are seeing an increasing number of businesses that are failing to renew their business licenses and their VAT returns. Worse yet, we have identified businesses that are intentionally underreporting to avoid what they are obligated to pay.
As for property taxes, Strawn says 70% of commercial property owners racked up significant arrears, which the department is trying to collect. However, a reassessment was conducted, which resulted in more than 51% of commercial properties seeing a not-so-significant tax increase, while more than 65% saw no change in their tax bills. The department is also finding issues with businesses and value-added tax. Some errors found were underreporting of revenue, non-compliant VAT invoices, invoices without tax identification numbers, claims where taxpayers overpay on input tax, improper classification of sales activity, and businesses illegally collecting VAT.
In St. Vincent, President of the SVG Teachers Union, Oswald Robinson, says trade unions will continue to fight and defend all workers at all costs. He was speaking at a rally held as part of celebrations to mark International Workers' Day. Robinson says the government continues to trample on the rights of workers and urged workers island-wide to stand up and stand tall with their unions. More from SVG TV.
As a trade unionist, and my executive, we stood up for our teachers. And we are fighting together with our brothers. People like Poya, you heard them every week on the radio speaking about workers' rights. And sometimes we sit back and we think that the struggle is easy. It's hard, it's tough. We have workers today, basic things like appointment. And Boucher made mention of our collective agreement. The collective agreement says reasonable time. Within reasonable time, you must be appointed after you have pursued a course of study, which is approved by the state. And you have people all 4, 5, 6 years can't get the appointment. But too many of us putting party before our union and our work. We have to stand up and we have to stand tall. And that is the first mark of a man, to stand.
In a follow-up story, the U.S. Attorney's Office has rejected British Virgin Islands Premier Andrew Fahy's notice of invocation of immunity. On Monday, Mr. Fahy filed a notice to the court seeking a release from detention, claiming he was protected by diplomatic immunity as the BVI's political head. But in a response, the U.S. Attorney's Office, Southern District of Florida, indicated the executive branch of the U.S. government does not recognize the British Virgin Islands as a sovereign state, or that Mr. Fahy is entitled to any immunity from prosecution. A federal judge in Miami has ruled that the Premier of the British Virgin Islands can be released on a $500,000 bond following his arrest on drug smuggling charges in the U.S. government sting in South Florida. Federal Court Judge Alicia Otezo-Reyes says Mr. Fahy can remain in Miami at the rented home of his 2 college-age daughters if he and his family surrender their travel documents, if he wears an ankle bracelet monitor and pays the bond. Prosecutors said they would appeal the decision. Mr. Fahy was arrested last week after allegedly accepting what he was told was $700,000 cash from undercover DEA agents and informants who posed as Mexican drug traffickers. Internationally, the United States Supreme Court says a leaked draft opinion overturning the top court's precedent-setting Roe versus Wade ruling, which set out women's right to abortion, is authentic but does not represent a final decision. Speaking to reporters, U.S. President Joe Biden said it concerns him that after 50 years, a woman will not have the right to choose.
You know, if this decision holds, it's really quite a radical decision. It basically says all the decisions related to your private life, who you marry, whether or not you decide to conceive a child or not, whether or not you can have an abortion, a range of other decisions, whether or not how you raise your child. What does this do? Does this mean that in Florida they can decide they're going to pass a law saying that same-sex marriage is not permissible? It's against the law in Florida? So there's a whole, it's a fundamental shift in American jurisprudence.
Patty Culhane has been following developments from Washington, D.C. Hello there, Patty. What's been the reaction where you are?
Well, let me step out of the way and show you. This is a bit of an impromptu protest. The vast majority of those are pro-choice. We've heard from senators who've walked from across the street, members of Congress. The vast majority of this crowd is pro-choice. We've seen some, those who are against abortion rights, but they are by far the minority. Now, this is going to be, if this decision is final, it is going to be complex because it would end the constitutional protection of abortion, but that doesn't mean it's going to end abortion access for all women in all states. To help me explain this to you, Amanda Matos, she's the Senior Director of Constituency Campaigns for Planned Parenthood. So can you explain to me what women wear will be, which women wear will they be?
So in the scenario that Roe is overturned, we know that then there would be 26 states in the country poised to ban abortion. In those 26 states, we know that there's at least 36 million women of reproductive age and other people that could get pregnant that would completely lose access to abortion. And in the scenario where Roe is overturned, there would be already 13 states in this country that have trigger laws, meaning that abortion would be banned essentially immediately after an official decision.
There's been a lot of research about who would be impacted the most by this. Can you take me through the demographics?
So this would be devastating. We know already that access to abortion is a challenge for people, especially folks that are low income, people of color, folks living in rural areas in this country, undocumented folks, people that are already facing economic barriers when it comes to accessing basic essential health care, and basic essential health care includes access to abortion.
In sports, Under-17 Reggae Girls' hopes of booking a place in the final at the Under-17 Women's World Cup later this year vanished as the girls went down 4-0 on Wednesday. The Americans advanced to the last 4 of the competition thanks to first-half goals from Amelia Villarreal in the 3rd minute. Charlotte Kohler scored in the 32nd minute and Riley Jackson in the 42nd minute. Melena Ribamba's 56th-minute goal added a bonus in the second half. Speaking after the game, goalkeeper for the Jamaica team, Leah Brooks, shared her thoughts about reaching this far and what she has learned from the tournament.
Our Jamaica U17 hasn't reached this point yet, so obviously it's a big milestone. We're trying to take it all the way, so that's unfortunate. I feel like these girls put their hearts out today. I mean, I played as hard as I could today, and I think that was that's what it's important. yeah, so that's.
What did you learn from this competition?
I learned that this competition is all about resilience and determination and just about who wants it more. Obviously, you know, playing the U.S. is a tougher team, but at the end of the day, I feel like they wanted it more than we did. I feel like this team played really hard, and I feel like I know how hard they can play, and I feel like we could have done a little bit more. But I'm proud of these girls so much. I'm so proud.
The U.S. advanced in the semifinals where they will face Canada, who took down Costa Rica 3-0 on Friday. Mexico will also play Puerto Rico on Friday. This after Mexico hammered hosts Dominican Republic 10-0. The top 3 teams from the tournament will qualify for the World Cup in India in October. There was absolutely no upward movement for West Indies teams in the annual update of the International Cricket Council rankings. The Windies team lost 4 rating points on both tests and ODIs, dropping to 77 in the long format and 73 in the 50 overs, but they improved by 5 rating points, climbing to 240 in T20 internationals. In the test arena, the Windies remain in 8th position, only ahead of Bangladesh and Zimbabwe, with 77 rating points during the period of play. However, the regional men have started 2022 positively by defeating England 1-0 here in the Caribbean and securing the newly minted Richard Botham Trophy. Their next series is scheduled for June as they host Bangladesh for 2 tests, 3 ODIs and 3 T20s. Australia tops the test team rankings, followed by India, New Zealand, South Africa and Pakistan. The new rankings reflect all test series completed since May 2019. In the ODI team rankings, the Windies remain 9th, and in the T20 format, they sit behind New Zealand in 7th position. New Zealand leads the way in ODIs and India in the T20 format. And with that, we stop the play on the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. Pleasant viewing.